The NFL playoffs has chosen their champions, and we've got something good happening. We go over a little bit of a quarterback carousel in the league, and we talk some scouting reports for college football and how it looks good for the SEC, but maybe not so hot for the ACC. All that and so much more on your pregame warmup.
Don't touch that dial. It's Leo Valdez.
Give him the skibbity paps.
David Sintra.
Where is this guy coming from?
And Hunter Horn.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
With your pregame warmup.
Yo, DJ, drop that beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pregame warmup. I'm your host, Leo Valdez. I've got Hunter Horn and Dave Sintra with me. How you doing, fellas?
Doing good, Leo?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Awesome. And we're so looking forward to the Super Bowl that is right around the corner. However, we've got media days coming, and we've got some things to discuss. So let's talk about the games, starting with the AFC Championship game, which was the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And that is the reason I'm calling them that just for a moment. But I'll let Hunter explain a little bit more in detail.
Well, Leo, let me tell you, man. When you go out there, right, and you score more points than the other team, you're usually going to win the football game. And that is what the Kansas City Chiefs did, all right? They moved the ball more consistently. They threw the ball more consistently. And they just got it done more consistently.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, and Leo, what you were saying about the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, it was there for the taking for them, wasn't it? I mean, they were kind of a couple plays away. They didn't execute as good as we've seen the Bengals do recently, so it was kind of surprising. They had it, though. I mean, the Chiefs did what they can, like Hunter said. They were moving the ball. You know, they didn't make mistakes. They put points up on the board when they needed to. But the Bengals really fumbled the bag, how, you know, the modern age likes to say, fumble the bag, because it was just there for the taking. But, you know, Patrick Mahomes just did Patrick Mahomes things and willed his team to a victory.
Well, I had the Bengals winning, and the main reason that I had them winning was mainly because that it was Mahomes being injured that was going to be kind of a determining factor, whether or not he was going to be able to play through all four quarters completely and utterly uninjured. However, there is a point where I'm going to ask you, Dave, I'll go ahead and turn this over to you. Do you still think that injury might do something to Patrick come now this Super Bowl run? Or do you think that this whole week of media days is going to give him some time to not worry about that?
I'm gonna have to say that I don't think it's gonna be that big of a factor. Especially, I didn't see it a big factor on Sunday. So with 2 weeks of rest and rehab, and letting the ankle heal, which a normal high ankle sprain takes about 3 weeks for recovery. So I mean that's pretty much the time frame now once the Super Bowl comes around. So I'm not really worried about the ankle at all. Especially like I had previously said last week, his coaching staff is phenomenal. They're going to draw plays and be creative to find ways to get them open. And I mean, we saw it with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He had 100 yards. I think that was his only third game of the year, second game of the year with 100 yards. And what bigger game to do it than in the AFC Championship game? So that's just how creative they are as a coaching staff. You saw it just by that one example right there.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead, Hunter, please.
I'm going to have to be a little controversial here, Dave. I think that ankle will play more into a factor. You see, the Bengals were one of the worst teams at pressuring the quarterback this year. They were horrible at getting after him. So Mahomes, yeah, he had to scramble a little bit, this, that, the other. The Bengals did not show up to play on defense whatsoever. The Eagles will show up, and the Eagles are one of the highest pressuring rates out there this year. The defense is one of the top scoring defenses as well. They get after the quarterback, and they make him fumble. Will Mahomes, right? We saw him limping the whole game against the Bengals, but they didn't really get to him. I think they only had 2 sacks. The Eagles are going to get to him at least 5 times, Dave, and you know that. All right, you're going to have people in the backfield. You're going to have Mahomes dancing around out there. Yeah, I'm just saying, I really think the ankle will be more of a factor.
I could agree, actually, with both assessments. I really think it really holds up to the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs and whether or not they're willing to buy him enough time. And we've talked about the secondary before of the actual Eagles and how they are ball hawks. They are a different secondary than what Mahomes is really used to. I don't think he's played such a tough secondary. And so if he's got too much time to throw the ball and there's a lot of time to scramble, and this is a defensive line that does love getting to the quarterback, I think that kind of changes a little bit. It kind of changes the whole scheme of the thing. With that being said, I'll ask, who do you think is going to be a factor from the Kansas City Chiefs side? We'll talk about the Eagles in just a moment. But I want to ask, who on the Kansas City side, Hunter, do you think is going to make the difference in this game?
All right, I'll tell you right now, the difference maker is going to be Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon. All right, if you look at the Eagles, they've had really hard time at stopping running backs out of the backfield catching passes. Okay, and that's what the Chiefs have been doing at least the last 7 games very, very well. Mahomes, quick, move the pocket, dump it off to the running back on the outside, let him go. Jerick McKinnon was a fantasy anomaly the last 4 weeks, right? He was averaging 2-3 touchdowns a game, 100 yards, 8 catches. So the Chiefs have found a working strategy for a team that they were almost ready and prepared to play in the Super Bowl. Gosh, halfway through the season, they started preparing for it.
Well, what about you, Dave? Who do you got?
I think, to be honest with you, I think one of the biggest factors for me is going to be on the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs is going to be Chris Jones. He wreaks complete havoc on the line. You saw it with the Bengals. He was able to get into the backfield quite a number of times, get Joe down twice, I believe, on Sunday. So he's vital to their entire defense. Not only does he pass rush well, but he also stops the run well. So, and the Eagles' RPO game is obviously the best in the league. Their offense runs off of that RPO, and that's how it opens up everything in the game. So if they're able to generate that pressure up the middle, which Chris Jones delivers all that and more, I think that they have a great chance to be able to slow down that high-powered offense in the Eagles and make it close and, give Mahomes a chance to be able to drive them down the field for a game-winning, field goal or whatever, because I feel like it's going to be a close game like that.
I don't know. You guys didn't even mention Travis Kelce like he's somebody on that team.
Well, the issue.
We already know. I mean, just because we know Travis Kelce, regardless, even if you double team him, Leo, we already know that he's still going to give you about 8 catches a game. He's still going to give you almost 100 yards or a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. So regardless, there's no really stopping like Travis. Travis is going to do Travis-like things, kind of similar to Mahomes. We already know what they're going to do. Now it's just about the others kind of doing what they should do and more, because they're going to need some elevation, some play elevation from the other guys for sure to win this game against a high-powered Eagles team, completely top to bottom.
Right, and so with that, talking about that Travis Kelce, how about Jason Kelce over in Philadelphia, doing a great job protecting his quarterback Jalen Hurts in what was, I believe, a really good NFC Championship game. It was me who actually predicted that the Eagles would win. It was going to be their team, and I told you that, and I told you, Hunter, about that X factor known as Jalen Hurts. Tell me, was I wrong? Was I right? Please, I want to hear it from you.
That's not even fair, Leo. The Eagles stretching the defense on the Niners that had no offense, and Christian McCaffrey throwing the ball for a whole half. You're kidding me, right? You're kidding me.
Yeah, a four-string quarterback. I mean, we already, as soon as Brock Purdy went out, I mean, a third string is already tough enough. And give the kid credit. I mean, he brought the team all the way to the NFC Championship game. But, I mean, to go into your four-string quarterback and your four-string quarterback also getting knocked out the game. So your third-string quarterback that was ruled out pretty much, that had a torn UCL, had to come in and fill in to get some plays when – obviously, the Eagles knew he wasn't going to throw because he hadn't thrown the ball not once. So they were just stacking the box. It was kind of over as soon as Brock Purdy got hit. So it was upsetting to see because as football fans, we're not trying to have a championship game be decided because 2 quarterbacks get knocked out and they don't have that third quarterback. So I really think the NFL needs to look into having 3 quarterbacks on the roster again because of something like this. At least if they had another quarterback on the roster, at least that other quarterback could have thrown the ball sometimes here and there.
It's the referees too.
It's
the referees too. Let me tell you, Dave and Leo, when they threw out Nick Bosa come the 4th quarter, okay, you're here, you're shaking your head, Leo, you're telling me no, Jalen Hurts. Listen, When you can go out there and you know, okay, if I make a mistake, my defense is going to get me the ball right back. You throw the ball different. You take bigger risks. You hit A.J. Brown between triple coverage because your coach tells you it's okay. You can throw that ball because if it gets picked off, we're going to get it back anyways. They don't have anybody throwing the ball. They don't have anybody to move the ball. When the Niners had their quarterback and they had Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, they were moving the ball on the Eagles. They were taking it down the field.
And I'm so glad that you guys are so mad about this because we talked about the greatness of Brock Purdy, and all I had to hear was how he was going to be the next Nick Foles and all this other stuff. And hold on, because I know you guys are getting a little defensive about your position that you took because it was going to be Brock Purdy's team, and then he got hurt, and then 49ers completely fell apart. Also, I'm sorry, but Jalen also admitted that he's not playing at 100%. Hold on. Jalen even admitted that he's not playing at 100%. He kept on to that game. Now, because the 49er offensive line couldn't protect Brock Purdy doesn't necessarily mean anything because they couldn't protect him or anybody who was standing in the backfield because the Eagles had that good of a defense. You're all right about that. But don't pretend that Jalen Hurts was just, sitting pretty, not doing anything, not being an actual quarterback, throwing for over 200 yards.
Yeah, the Eagles did get some good shots.
Wait, Leo. Jalen Hurts was 15 of 25 for 120
Yeah, he threw for 120 yards.
He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything.
He had two good throws, maybe.
One
to A.J. Brown.
The Niners lost this game. The
Eagles did not win this game. Second drive of the game.
You cannot sit here and tell me a quarterback who scored no touchdowns in this game.
How many rushing yards did Jalen Hurts have now that you have?
I don't even think he might have topped 40. Maybe.
Exactly.
I don't even think he topped 40 of that. To be honest with you, it was
so you're telling me
impressed with what I saw
scoring all of those points against his defense that was supposed to shut him down. He's a scrub. He's a complete scrub.
No. But the defense of the Niners, did their job. Yeah, the defense of the Niners did their job. They gave up 120 passing and 40 yards rushing to him, which Jalen Hurts averages 200 yards just passing alone through the air. So we already know that, obviously, as soon as Brock Purdy got hurt, second drive, I had Niners fans texting the group like, this game is over. Even they knew. My dad is a Niners fan. Even he was like, yeah, this game is over. We have no quarterback. This guy got hurt, and now we're coming in with Josh Johnson. I mean, it's like a four-string quarterback. Nobody's going to really win a playoff, and especially an NFC championship game with a four-string quarterback. It's not going to happen.
The average starting position for the Eagles offense was their own 45-yard line.
Look at that. I mean, the ball was in their hands.
The ball anywhere. A.J. Brown, 4 catches, 28 yards. Devontae Smith, 2 catches, 36 yards. But somehow they had touchdowns. Miles Sanders, 2 touchdowns on 11 carries and 42 yards.
Somehow they got touchdowns because nobody gave them the ball.
Because the Eagles only had 50 yards to go.
Fell down from the sky, and that was it. That's the only way that happened.
The thing is that the ball was
when you only need 30, 40 yards for a touchdown, Leo, it really makes the game a lot easier.
It's not to say that without Brock Purdy, the 49ers had no chance. I could agree.
They probably win the game. They probably win the game. I'll be honest with you, Leo.
I disagree.
I think it's a way better game.
Because
I don't know if they win the game, but it's a better game.
Honestly,
for sure.
Honestly, I think the game would have been a lot closer. That's
Definitely.
Number one.
That's
a lot closer. And the 49ers defense really did have the number of the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, the game would have come down to literally a defensive bout that had to end in a field goal on what would have been known as probably the most field goals ever kicked in a conference championship game. I can understand that 100%. But to me, this feels like with Brock Purdy going down and the 49ers offense falling completely apart because they only had, a quarterback and a half left in whatever it is that they brought to this game, all of a sudden that discounts the win that the Eagles had. And that's
but Leo, you have to look at it. It's not discounting the Eagles win. You said Jalen Hurts was the X factor and the reason why the Eagles won. He's not.
Yeah, he's not.
He's not, Leo.
Those touchdowns just happened.
He
just
only
spurted
had
out.
one
They
touchdown.
They
He had
rushed
one
for three
touchdown.
touchdowns. Yeah, they rushed for 3 touchdowns. It was
All he
like
did was
their
stand in there and pass
their
the ball
starting
off.
position, like Hunter said, it was at their own 48. Like that just tells you that you don't have to drive much of the ball. Like you're in control at all times. Like
Don't
you don't
worry, I
have
know
anything
what's
to
going to
worry on
happen.
the other side.
When the
So,
Eagles win the Super Bowl, you guys are just going to say that the defense won the game for them.
Dude, the Eagles had
don't
the
worry.
ball 37 minutes to
I was
the Niners 22.
I was told
15 minutes.
to
That's a whole quarter,
I was
Leo.
told to
Come
never
on.
I was told to never count your chickens before they hatch. So I don't know about the when situation because there's a guy named Patrick Mahomes on the other side that's a
Yeah.
pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Over
You
there.
know,
Yeah.
I wasn't rooting for the Chiefs. Now I'm rooting for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean I'm a Mahomes jersey, babe?
I love it.
Love it. Wonderful. You see, that's what we do here at the pregame warm-up. We agree to disagree, and then we completely disagree. But that's the beauty of what we do and what we bring to you here. Don't worry, we've got that and so much more coming to you on your pregame warm-up. All right, everybody, and we're back, and we're going to cool things down just a little bit. The next thing we're going to cover is some scouting reports that were out that have shown us a little bit of the forward momentum of college football. So we assigned ourselves some teams, and we're going to give you the teams, and we're going to give you our synopsis of what the scouting report actually looks like. It's not going to be very long, but it is going to be, enough details to let you know what's going on. So, Hunter, go ahead. You can start us off.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I was directed to check out the scouting reports and the off-season buzz for both FSU and UGA. Let me tell you, these two teams are going to come ready to play some football here pretty soon. From the fact they're both picking up some heavy running backs. I know FSU is looking, especially in the transfer portal, to bring in some receivers and some linemen that know that outside zone game, so they can get Trey Benson and Jordan Travis out on the edges and running better. As far as UGA goes, man, that's another machine, another reload, just like Alabama. Stetson Bennett's gone, but they got this new quarterback coming in. I really see Alabama challenging Georgia in the SEC championship again.
All right. Well, that sounds just about right. That's short, sweet, to the point. Dave, who'd you have and what'd you notice?
So I had my fellow University of Miami, my Hurricanes. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Cristobal is making an immediate impact. I mean, look at the recruiting class, best recruiting class that we've had since the merger and the era of tracking recruiting classes. I mean, he's brought in a bunch of great pieces, our defensive ends, good tight ends. Tyler Van Dyke's coming back for another year, so that should be very beneficial to the UM's football program, having a veteran quarterback like that leading the team, especially needing to put up points, as you guys saw, to win championships. So, I mean, they have the number 7 recruiting class right now overall. They're only behind the likes of Alabama, Georgia, high-powered schools. So that just means that UM is pretty much back on the map. I mean, I don't want to speak too far into the future yet and saying they're back on the map because obviously, they still got to go through spring and summer, and then we got to see how the product looks on the field. But the fact that they were able to generate such a great recruiting class and also from the transfer portal landing themselves at number 7 rank, I mean, that kind of speaks volume to what Cristobal is building. Everybody's buying into the program, and I'm excited as a Hurricane fan to see what we got this year. I mean, after all, they were the number 1 ACC recruiting class. So, sorry, Clemson. It seems like the Hurricane boys are back. Let's see what we got. I'm excited. Think that's a great hire in Cristobal. And then moving on, staying in Florida, I also was tasked with having the Gators. And, I mean, they themselves snuck up and had a pretty good transfer portal themselves. They ended up getting about 10 good players off of the transfer portal. I know they lost that one big main quarterback in Rashada because of the NIL deal, and it fell through. But that's the least of their worries. They literally balanced their team out. They added to the trenches on their O-line and D-line to balance out the squad. SEC football is about defense, guys. So, I mean, that's exactly what Florida did. And they're the number 14th recruiting class ranked. So they did their thing over there. Billy really has the Gators turning in the right direction after that whole debacle with the former coach and, having that program go so low when they've been known to win so much. So, I mean, Florida's been on their thing. You could see it by them both ranked in the top 15. Florida's coming back up in their rankings and the recruiting class, and be careful because obviously Florida State, you guys already know how that's going. And Leo, I believe you might be covering them, or
Yep, I've got two rivals. As a matter of fact, I got the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers. And what I've noticed about Alabama, it's almost like the same old, same old. They're just keeping in line with Saban's traditionalism. A lot of people didn't think that Saban was going to be coming back for another season, but I think he's going to start really diving a little bit more into the transfer portal. He's going to be doing a little bit more in getting his recruits ready. Right now, Jalen Milroe's their quarterback. That's their guy that they're choosing. There hasn't really been a debate. I mean, I guess from my understanding, the Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurst situation kind of put him in a position where he had an underdeveloped offense because they were that one element short. So I think he just wants to eliminate that entirely from the discussion so that there's a for sure quarterback in the discussion and the team can build from there. Their defense is always going to be top notch. They've got some new players out for defensive tackle and for inside linebacker core from the transfer portal. So they're looking like they're trying to build something that's really going to stop a Georgia offense. I think that's the one thing that they're really looking down at. They want more. They want to compete more against Tennessee. I think what Josh Heupel is doing in Tennessee kind of is scaring him a little, and that's high-powered offense. And to counter, if you want to counter high-powered offense, you're going to need a high-powered defense, and that's basically what he's really been building. He wants to plug up the holes on offense, but he wants his defense to really be ready. The pickups he's gotten on defense, they're going to be turning some eyeballs for sure. As far as what Auburn is doing, Hugh Freeze he's got his work cut out for him. He's got no idea in reality. I don't think he knew what he was really walking into. He just confidently says that he does, and he's really good at doing it. They lost a lot of good quality players from the transfer portal. I think it's going to be a really big rebuilding year for the Auburn Tigers. I don't see them making big waves. However, they could be building something for the sense of stability in the program. And if there's stability in the program, that will buy more time for the Tigers, for the War Eagles. They got to do what they got to do, So that's basically where we're at. I did notice that Hunter, that in your report for FSU, you talked about Jordan Travis and trying to get him. Do you think they're going to try to make him more mobile, or do you think they're going to try and keep him in the pocket to really create some distance?
Well, I think Norvell's going to do what's called that moving pocket. And that's where, you get him out there because Jordan Travis is really good at running that RPO, right? Like he stands there in the shotgun. He's got Trey Benson to his right or his left, right? And he's basically reading the linebacker to basically see if the linebacker is going to come up and bite on the run or if the linebacker is going to fall back into coverage. And you're basically playing, and if the linebacker kind of, sits in the middle and someone misses a block on the line, that's when you run it out wide and stuff like that. I've noticed at FSU, especially that Clemson game, they had issues dealing with like the edge rushers and stuff. And usually when you have problems dealing with the edge rushers, you want to teach your quarterback to step up in the pocket. And when you have them stepping up in the pocket, you usually want to work more on those like 20 to 30-yard passes, have those solid. But let me tell you, man, Jordan Travis is well-rounded. He can hit the deep ball when he needs to. He can hit the wheels and run it down the field when he needs to. But as far as making improvements to his game, I'll just reiterate again, I really think that moving pocket design is where Norvell is headed with him. If you've
Yep.
watched the last
Yep.
few years, not to run on here, but if you've watched the last few years of Norvell and Jordan together, he worked on that pocket presence first and slowly transitioned him into the RPO game. I really, I went to that Duquesne game, that first game of the season, and you could see him, learning, watching where those running holes are going to be opened up. And then when you saw him in the Cheez-It Bowl, he looked like a well-oiled machine.
Hunter, wouldn't you say that he kind of reminds you like Jalen Hurts, that type of style? Because now that they're getting him outside the numbers with the RPO, that's where he does his most damage, outside the numbers, rolling out. You see him with it, being able to make throws on the run to his right, to his left, getting in between and hitting those seams to be able to pick up with his legs, because he's pretty dang good with the ball in his hands. He's like a running back when he runs with the ball. So they got themselves a special talent out there, and I do see a lot of Jalen Hurts in him. And I mean, Norvell's gonna put him in the right positions, like you said. They figured it out and how to run that offense, and it's very similar to that Oklahoma offense with Jalen Hurts. So really see the similarities in the game. I like the kid's game a lot.
So Dave, I'm really glad that you've chimed in, and I know that Hunter's going to want to readdress this question as well. So, like I said, this is really for both of you, but I'm going to start with you, Dave, really quick. Tyler Van Dyke, you said he's returning to UM. Is it because he's stuck, or is it because he might actually do something?
I mean, yeah, I would have to say, I guess you can say he's stuck because his draft stock fell so hard this year. I mean, people were expecting a lot of big things from TVD, and he just didn't deliver. I mean, he gave you little sprouts and little flashes of like what he was last year and what he was supposed to be for this year, and how high powered the offense could be with him. Because I mean, let's not get it twisted. I mean, from last year when they put him in, he started to light it up. Everybody thought, oh wow, this guy's about to come in here and would imagine with the full off season's work, and it just didn't work out too well. So I would have to say, Leo, that I think, yeah, it's kind of because he was stuck. His draft stock fell, but at the end of the day, I feel like he sees something great with Cristobal. I mean, he does make quarterbacks. At the end of the day, Cristobal, everywhere he goes, the programs build up within 2-3 years. So TVD probably figured, hey, especially as a senior coming in, all my experience with Cristobal's second year into the program, my experience behind here as a signal caller can definitely make us reach good heights that we want to reach as a football team, how UM was before. And I feel like that's exactly probably why he returned, and also to obviously boost his draft stock. Yeah, I would say Leo, of course.
Hunter, I know you really want to say something about this, so please, the floor is yours.
Just to clean up real quick on Jordan Travis, that's a top 5 quarterback. FSU did what they needed to do. They built the team the right way. Okay? Now, switching gears, heading south to Tyler Van Dyke. Okay? Where did it go wrong for Tyler Van Dyke? First off, it went wrong when he got up on the radio in South Florida and he said he likes playing in away games more because it's a more college feel. Now, I understand Hard Rock is rarely sold out. The stadium's 30 miles away from the university campus. It's hard to get around in Miami if you don't have a car. Public transportation is widely available, but believe it or not, it's not centralized unless you're headed to downtown. So why they moved the Canes out of, South Miami, we'll never know. It hurt the fan base. But let me tell you, they still had about 40, 50,000 people out there. It's not the same as when, you go over to Texas A&M where they've got the 12th man and all that stuff. But Tyler Van Dyke got up there, okay, Dave, and he basically said, I don't like these fans. I don't like playing here. And when you do that, you start to lose the locker room. Let me tell you, other than Will Mallory and then Restrepo, he had no sure receivers. He had nobody really trying to go up and catch the ball for him. He didn't have any linemen friggin' really doing anything for him either. You sometimes you can tell when linemen like their quarterback because they'll take a pounding for him, this and that.
Right.
Let me tell you, TVD got the most lookout blocks I've ever seen a quarterback get throughout a season because guys would legit just blow by him and they wouldn't even hold. So I think there's a culture issue going on with the Miami locker room. And it's like you said, Mario Cristobal brings a dynamic to the team. He brings a fiery intensity. That's what all offensive linemen coaches bring to teams. Mm-hmm. We've noticed this. Just look at Dan Campbell over with the Detroit Lions.
Correct.
So I
And I
think
mean, even Jeff Saturday a little bit, right? Just a little bit.
exactly.
I mean, they didn't win.
There's
They didn't win, but I mean, let's be fair with the quarterback situation.
that
on top
Colts
of that,
Colts
and their
situation
injuries,
was.
but yeah, it was just a mess.
That was
from the
my
beginning.
fault. That was my fault, everybody. If you're a Colts fan, I drafted Jonathan Taylor. That was on me. We all thought we were getting a 2,000-yard season, and it should have gone Derrick Henry.
Well, as you can totally tell, we're raising the temperature up. So much for a cool down section. But it doesn't matter because we're really going to crank up the heat come our next section when we talk about Brady come back. No, he won't. He's retired, and we're going to talk about it. Yeah! All that and more on your pregame warmup. And we're back. Don't worry. We're going to turn the volume up, maybe not the heat so much, as we talk about Tampa Tom, or how Skip Bayless calls him from time to time, Psycho Tom. And it has been kind of psychotic watching a guy go from New England to Tampa and come and do something that he wanted to do, which was to win a championship without Bill Belichick. Now the legacy of a man has been determined with the fact that he retired before. So now he's not retiring, he's re-retiring, and he's said he's leaving for good. Not saying exactly why, but he's just saying goodbye. Dave, I know you're the one who's taking this the hardest, so we're going to leave you last. Hunter, I got to ask, you think he's going to pull a Brett Favre and just say, you know what, I retired from Green Bay, and then he played for the Jets, and then he retired from the Jets, because in reality, he got what he always wanted, which was to play for the Vikings. Do you think Tom is retiring to find another home?
God, I hope not. And that's not just me as a Dolphins fan speaking. It's just time, man. Before Brady becomes his own worst enemy and his own villain, and he plays himself to the point where he's having bad seasons, and people are talking about him on ESPN. Like, come on, man, it's time to go. This is a good one. And he did a good way of doing it because he didn't get up and make a big deal out of it again, this and that. He woke up and he said, hey, just let everybody know I'm done. I'm going to go spend time with my, family, what is left of my family, And I think that's the big thing here, that it's a time, it's the end of it era. I like what, Leo, what you said last week, that it's time for Brady to step aside and let the younger Bulls come into their own. Mahomes, Allen, Tua, maybe one day Purdy. You got Jalen Hurts coming up. All these guys. It's time for Brady to just step aside, go take care of things at home, and enjoy your offseason, man. You've earned it. 6 rings. My goodness. What else could you ask for, man?
I believe that's a fair assessment, honestly. And I guess I agree with you because, of course, you brought up the fact that it's something that I said last week. And I didn't say it just to be mean or rude. It's not to completely, I'll say it, crap on the man's legacy, because the fact is that, I'm sorry. Look, I'm 40 years old. I don't look anywhere near in the same shape as Tom Brady. He looks amazing. He probably feels great. I think what he doesn't do is that he doesn't feel like competing and finding himself back where he once was. And that was in a situation where he was going to keep producing wins. I think even when the Patriots didn't win a Super Bowl, because there were some years they just didn't, and there were some years they didn't make it to the Super Bowl, that Tom was still confident in staying as a Patriot. And that was because he was always building to something better with Bill. I think that's why Bill complimented him so much. But he wanted to do something out on his own. He was able to accomplish it. Honestly, I never thought he should have come back from retirement. I think that I think that's going to be the star on his legacy that basically said, dude, you had to be knocked down twice to realize that you weren't ready to fight no more. Dave, I'll go ahead. I'll let you not necessarily finish it up because there's still some more questions to ask about all of this.
So it was a tough day. I have to admit, as a Patriots fan, watching him for 20 years, I mean, Tom was kind of almost everything I knew, right? I mean, I'm 30, so by the time I kind of really started watching football, it was because pretty much Tom Brady and led the Patriots, and such a crazy underdog story comes out of nowhere, right? And so, I mean, it was kind of hard to soak in that news, when I woke up on Tuesday, but I think it was the right time. I think he finally realized that, it was the time to hang the cleats up. He wasn't the reason primarily they would kind of win football games right now, especially this season, even though he did lead them to some comebacks. I mean, at the end of the day, the defense held their part because they would win the games 19-17 on a field goal. So it's not like you put up points. So I think he just kind of sat back, realized, and was like, hey, like, I've given this game all I've got. There's bigger and better things to take care of at this moment. I've already done enough. There's nothing more that he really can achieve. I mean, let's be real. I mean, Hunter, just to kind of clarify, it's 7 Super Bowls, by the way, because he had 6 alone with the Patriots. Just a friendly reminder there, guys, that the Patriots got 6 Super Bowls. But yeah, anyways, aside from that, I just feel like he realized it was time, and he has all the accolades, he has all the records, he owns every record known to man in the regular season, in the postseason, between Super Bowl MVP awards and completions and wins in the playoffs. You name it, he's got it. Touchdowns in the regular season, touchdowns in the playoffs, yards in the regular season, yards in the playoffs. So there's nothing else really for him to accomplish. I just felt like he probably sat back and was like, it's time for me to go, time for me to retire and just walk away, gave the game everything he's got. And like Hunter said, it's time for him to go and enjoy, what he's earned. He's worked so hard since he's came into the league, drafted 199. So, I mean, you've exceeded expectations and more. I mean, you're the GOAT, man. Ride off and just go take care of other things in your other endeavors in your future.
And you're saying for him to do that. However, Dave, I have to say, I'm glad you're taking this so graciously. However, I have to ask this question. Do you think if another team does call him that he changes his mind? Which team do you think would do that? What team do you think would change his mind into coming back?
I can only really see one team out there, Leo, which would be his hometown team where he grew up for, San Francisco, the 49ers. He was from there by Santa Clara. He was raised watching Joe Montana and Steve Young and, all them great 49ers teams. So that was his childhood team. That's where his parents live. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense. So I would have to say no, Leo. If somebody comes calling, maybe the 49ers, like I just said, if that's the only enticing team for me in my book, but I just don't see it happening. I feel like he'll look at himself like kind of like what Hunter was saying, like that Brett Favre, like, oh, I'm overdoing it and coming too much. Like, dude, you're 40, you're about to be 46 this season. If you play, like, you're really not trying to get touched at all. Like, this is a physical game, so I don't see him making that mistake and trying to come out and be a superhero, right, and ruin per se, because he's not going to ruin his legacy, but just kind of throw a little bit of dirt on it that's not needed, because like I said, you've done everything you've tried to accomplish and more, man. Just that's it. It was a great ride, Tom. Appreciate everything you had.
Well, I mean, that's all fair and good. Hunter, do you think that there's a team, maybe another team, that would call Tom and Tom would change his mind about retirement?
Well, Leo, I'd have to agree with Dave that the Niners would probably be the only team to change Tom's mind of coming out of retirement. But, like Jeremiah 8 says, the plunderer shall come against every city. I think that really can be used here because God always says that if you take, too much into your work and into your life, everything will always fall. And I think that's what happened with Brady. He tried to chase this one last ring and his family fell apart. So I think it's time for him to honestly, doesn't matter who calls him. I think if the Niners gave him a call, he might entertain it. But I think Tom's really realized now that I got to be a dad to these kids, man.
All right. I would say, I mean, wow, that is actually a good assessment from both of you guys. I guess it's not that I necessarily expected a controversy, or maybe I kind of did, because I know that there are still a lot of people who think that he has a lot to offer as far as his greatness. But I agree with Hunter wholeheartedly. In chasing this championship, his family did fall apart, and I think it affected. The season became less about him coming back and more about what it cost him. I don't think he would do that again. I think even if San Francisco did call him, he would say no. That's just I think he's in it. He's grown up, and he's basically, I think, as old as he is, I finally see him maturing. I think when he came down to Tampa, there was almost kind of like, I would say, almost a childish mentality of saying, I got to do this without my dad, And yeah,
Fair enough.
I know Skip calls him, Psycho Tom, and he does have his moments. But at the same time, I think he had as much as healthy as he has, as now he can finally run a 40, in decent time, and he's developed himself physically. I think now he's starting to develop emotionally. His maturity is really taking him there. And as I've always been saying, hey man, it's not to say you haven't done a great thing, and it's not to say that you were the greatest in your time. Remember, that's how I'm keeping that. But it is to also say that your time has come to an end. However, the pregame warm-up hasn't come to an end. Guys, we'll be right back after this. We're going to get a little out of order and talk about this quarterback carousel. All that and the woodshed on your pregame warm-up. For our next segment, Out of Order.
You're out of order! You're out of order! The whole trial is out of order!
Gentlemen, we've looked at the quarterback carousel that has been created over time. And the reason why I say that is because we've seen a lot of people leave. And with Tom's exit, you're talking about an entire class of quarterback that is now gone, and a new class is coming up. But we still have kind of like that middle class of or what I would say the next senior class. Now the juniors moving up to the senior class. They've been veterans of the league long enough. And it's almost like that time where they're probably not going to stay close to home anymore. Dave, who do you got probably moving from where they're at and looking elsewhere?
I'm going to probably have to say Derek Carr, to be honest with you, Leo. I mean, it's kind of evident that Las Vegas is moving on. He already wrote his farewell, so now it's a matter of where he's going to go. I don't see Las Vegas wanting to trade him to the AFC, so maybe I see him going to the NFC because obviously, as you know, when you're trading a good quarterback like that, you don't want to keep him in your same conference, trade him away to the other conference. So with that being said, and the NFC in mind, I'm going to have to say that it actually might make a ton of sense for the 49ers to get a guy like Derek Carr because, I mean, let's be real. Brock Purdy is a broke man's Derek Carr, right? I mean, he's got the arm. He's got the short game. You know, he doesn't make mistakes. Derek Carr doesn't make too many mistakes. He keeps you in games. He can do enough to win you games if he has to because he has the arm ability and the talent. But a lot of that in San Francisco that they run is timing. A lot of timing routes. Kyle loves the timing. And Derek Carr excels in that. You see him when he had his timing with Darren Waller. As soon as he started picking it up with Devontae Adams again, down the second half of the stretch of the season, they started playing a lot better football. His timing with Hunter Renfrow on certain little dig routes. So it's all timing in San Francisco. I see him there, and I see a perfect fit, especially you don't know what you're going to get from Trey Lance because of his ACL. Then you have Brock Purdy's UCL. Jimmy Garoppolo, they already said that they're looking to a split, so he's not going to be back. So I would say that makes a ton of sense for the 49ers because they're literally one piece away. That's the definition of one piece away of a team. Just one quarterback away. You saw what happened on Sunday when that quarterback went down and they didn't have anything to respond with it. So Derek Carr to the Niners actually might be a good situation, Kyle, if you're listening.
Quick, and I just need a quick assessment of this is if they do bring in Derek Carr, does Brock Purdy stay? Does Jimmy
Yes,
go?
Absolutely. No, Brock Purdy stays. I would have to say Brock Purdy might not be ready. Maybe I wouldn't say to more than halfway through next season. So I would say Brock Purdy stays. You keep him and groom him. And then you create the QB competition, in the room the following year. You have Derek Carr in there, and then you have Brock Purdy, as in his third season, maybe healthier, learning more of the system, and you have that, if competition, it doesn't hurt anybody.
Fair assessment. Hunter, who do you got probably not staying at their home base right now?
Well, I guess we'll just get the cat out of the bag and talk about the hot topic, Aaron Rodgers, right? There's a lot of landing spots for Aaron Rodgers, definitely outside the NFC. So he's already gone ahead and he told the Niners no, but I could tell you definitely that was the Packers letting him know to say no, because there's probably no way the Packers are going to trade Aaron Rodgers to anybody inside the NFC. So let's take a look at the AFC, right? Let's take a look at the teams that aren't the best fit for Aaron Rodgers. So you got the Tennessee Titans. You could talk about the Raiders and him reuniting with Davante Adams over there, but I don't think that's a good fit, because when you ask your receiver, hey, man, are you going to stay before I sign this deal? And he tells you, yeah. And then you sign the deal, and a week later he's like, hey, this guy kind of saved my life on a rafting trip that, coincidentally he took me on. So I'm going to go down there, and he said we can win a Super Bowl, and we saw how that went. I think the most likely landing spot for Aaron Rodgers, right, is the New York Jets. And as a Dolphins fan, it pains me to say that, because I think the Jets will be a serious team with a quarterback. They've got Breece Hall coming off of the ACL injury, right? And I don't mean to run long here, but they rebuild knees like they do cars nowadays. So Breece Hall's probably going to come back better than ever. And as we saw, he's that explosive back that'll break 50, 60, 70-yard runs and take them to the house, right? So he's a reliable, strong, angry runner. Then they've got this guy, Garrett Wilson, man, who was showing out near the end of the year. You hook him up with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers then has a solid number one he can develop, work with, all of that. I really like Aaron landing in New York. I really do.
All right. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I know that you're not a big fan of that happening. Truth is, I'm not even a big fan of that happening as a Giants fan. That would almost just suck just to have him on that side anyway.
But they're the team. They're the team with the most cap space. They're the team that's the better fit for him.
Right. So it's where he lands. Well, my guy is going to be one Dakota Prescott. I think that Dak has basically lived out the Jerry Jones experience. And it's mainly because Jerry never wanted him there from the start. I think he's kind of realizing that staying in Dallas is probably what's hurting him more than it actually is building him up. I know he loves the market. I know he loves his fans. And I really would I would actually like to watch a quarterback retire from the team that first drafted them. Call me old fashioned, but it's kind of weird that way. It's just not working out that way. If you're not doing the job you're supposed to be doing at home, maybe a change of scenery would be a good thing. I think if he does end up somewhere, it would be in Tennessee. He's got a great running game, which is probably what he really needed and what he expected from Ezekiel Elliott. And one Derrick Henry is not going to go and watch watch Dak Prescott become a quarterback and then all of a sudden pretend not to do his job like one Zeke the Freak did over here in Dallas. So I think that because he's going to be able to join this team, he's going to be coached well in this team. He's going to be I think he'll be taken care of. It's a good offensive line that has a very strong running game. It's a good offensive line that can pass protect very well. It's an offensive line that makes Ryan Tannehill look good. So I think it's a offensive line that can make a one Dakota Prescott look very well. I think I would be happy for him if that's where he landed. It's the team that makes the most sense for him. Probably they will absorb whatever it is that is left on his contract. But after that, I think Jerry's between Zeke and Dak, and Jerry has loyalty to Ezekiel Elliott, even though Ezekiel Elliott screwed him over by making him sign the deal that made him a fat cat. It doesn't matter. If Jerry's loyal to somebody, he stays loyal to them. He was really never loyal to Dakota, so it wouldn't surprise me if he left. And I think it'd probably be the best thing that would ever happen to Prescott's career.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that.
Yeah, fair assessment on that.
And welcome back to the pregame warm-up. Up next, it's our favorite topic, the woodshed.
Not a problem, sir. He's a good kid. He's just got to watch his language in front of the ladies.
I'll remind Kevin where he comes from.
Okay, that sounds terrific.
You use foul language in front of a lady?
No, Daddy, no! All right, Dave, who do you got today?
Well, Leo, it's kind of messed up, and I don't really mean to, pick on the person that kind of cost the team, another trip to the Super Bowl, but I'm taking Joseph Asai. I mean, dude, what were you thinking? Let's be honest. I mean, as a defender, they tell you, especially a quarterback, like, what was the point of hitting him out of bounds? They weren't in field goal range. You're 15 yards, barely put him in field goal range to be able to make the kick. Like, Bucker barely put it over the goalpost. So, like, Patrick Mahomes was running out of bounds. He's not going anywhere. He's not Lamar Jackson. Like, there was no need to push him. He was already making his way out. Rule number 1 of being on defense, your coordinator is going to tell you, no time, be smart, use your head, don't make any bogus plays, don't give up free yards. It's exactly what you did. And I hate to pin it all on just this one play and one player. But then again, you caused the team the extra 15 yards, gave them a field goal with 5 seconds left, hits it through the uprights, game over. Cincinnati goes home with a heartbreak. I really feel for you, Joseph. I know you'll probably bounce back, but that was just a bonehead play and cost your team another trip to the Super Bowl. Sorry to the woodshed, Joseph. Better luck next year, Bengals.
All right, Hunter, who do you got?
Well, I'm not going to be too hard on him because he just won a national championship, but I can't not take Stetson Bennett to the woodshed after he gets drunk and starts banging on random people's doors. Like, come on, dude. You're already 20 million years old and expected to go in like the 3rd, 4th round. Why make your life any more difficult? And especially in Texas. Going to jail in Texas, not a good idea, man. Stay in Georgia. Behave yourself. Go home and play some Fortnite or something. Don't be banging on people's doors. I've had that happen to me, and I had somebody spread eagle in my driveway because of it. Don't be that type of guy, Stetson. Be a hero.
I like that. Be a hero. Be a hero. I guess this is like the 3rd time I've taken this person to the woodshed, and I get really mad having to do it all the time. And it's because, and people think that I have a bias towards him because I'm a Notre Dame fan and he's the football head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. Jim Harbaugh bothers me because he's doing that Saban-esque Mike Smith kind of thing that has always ticked me off. And that is that he says he's happy where he is while he's interviewing for another job. Dude, you have gone to Carolina. They have spotted you in Denver. They are spotting you everywhere. And you're going around telling all these Michigan Wolverine fans. Now, here's why I get upset with it. I do know Michigan Wolverine history. I remember when Jim took the team from the wretched hands of Rich Rodriguez, who destroyed that team. And he made it a winning, a winning program. He brought people in. I mean, everywhere he's gone, when he was in Stanford, he was amazing. When he was in San Francisco, he saved that team from Singletary. And now I just keep watching these head football coaches. And right now, Jim Harbaugh's on that list. I'm going to catch another head coach doing it pretty soon. I know it's going to happen where there's another head football coach in a college program or even in a pro program that says they're happy where they're at, and they're clearly not. If you're not happy, you're interviewing for other jobs. Stop lying to your fan base. Stop lying to your recruits. Stop lying to the people that you're trying to sign just because you think it's going to make you look good. In the end, it makes you look bad. It makes you look cheap. And quite honestly, Jim, you're going to stay on the dang bottom of this woodshed for as long as it has to be until some coach calls you out and literally labels you as the hypocrite you are, because that's not fair and it's just not right. All right, everybody, we do have to let y'all go. This has been fun. It's been great. This has been your pregame warm-up. I'm Leo Valdez.
I'm Hunter Horn.
I'm Dave Sintra. Happy Black History Month, guys.
Amen.
And we'll catch you all on the other side.
See you when I get back from Cuba.
Say hi to Castro for me.
Will do.